What's going on, guys? And welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where every single week right here in the show I break down all the content that I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking straight to the source with Corey Graves, this episode featuring the WWE Cruiserweight Champion Enzo Amore. So just to catch you up to date real quick on the network, they already have 2 episodes of the show up. I talked about the pilot, the first episode, about a month or so ago with the Intercontinental Champion Roman Reigns. Good episode. The second one featured Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. I did not review that one, if only because I had already seen it on YouTube. They put it on the network like a few days after the fact, so I didn't really want to watch it again to review it. So it's also a good episode. You can check it out either on YouTube or on the WWE Network. This one went up with Enzo this past week, I should say, after Raw on the WWE Network. And overall, a good episode, I guess. It's kind of hard to tell. I will talk about my overall thoughts on the show at the end, but real quick, it's kind of hard to tell where the reality and the character stop with Enzo. Is this who he actually is? Is he just playing a character? Because obviously him and Corey Graves have had some beef on TV. Is that real beef? Obviously they were going to play that up for this show, but Roman Reigns came across like a real person during his episode. Enzo Amore came across a complete douchebag on this one. But then again, he's a heel, so he's supposed to. But I don't know. So anyway, Enzo kicks off the episode saying that he was being paid to be there. So obviously not happy to be sitting down talking to Corey Graves. He immediately addresses the heat in the locker room, saying there is no heat. And he addresses the rumors, responding to the rumors, saying that he was kicked off the tour bus last summer. He says, how could I get kicked off the tour bus? If I got kicked off the tour bus, I can't get from point A to point B. How can I get from point A to point B if I'm not on the tour bus? How you doing? Okay, didn't say that, but in so many words he did. Basically denying the rumors. I mean, take from that what you will. That was from last summer. So obviously, I guess he could say yeah, but he could very well deny it as well. But he did deny the rumors here. He talks about dressing by himself. He doesn't talk to anyone, which makes sense. There were reports that there was a lot of heat on him. No one liked him backstage, an absolutely obnoxious personality. So it kind of makes sense that he would dress by himself and not talk to anyone and kind of, be left to his own devices. He talks about the transition to 205 Live, saying it's a breath of fresh air, working with new people. Of course, he was a tag team guy for a long time and moving on to singles gold, and obviously it's something very different for him, and although the guy's not a great wrestler, I will absolutely say that with 100% certainty. I will tell you, though, he has adapted fairly well to 205 Live. The show is fucking deader than dead. Deader than the dead man, The Undertaker. But he has, done well in the role of a heel as the cowardly heel champion. So I will give him that. So yeah, I would say he has had a successful transition to 205 Live in the Cruiserweight division so far. He says business is doing well because I'm on 205 Live. He's always on. When Corey Graves asks him, is this how you are behind the scenes too? Is this how you are constantly? And he says, I'm always on. This is how I always am, which makes 100% sense. I do not deny that at all. I do not, I cannot not believe that, just because Enzo seems like the type of personality that would always be obnoxious or energetic, kind of like The Miz, but turned up to a 10. And The Miz is always at that 10, so you can only imagine how much more annoying Enzo would be in that role as well, behind the scenes and in real life. But I don't deny the fact. I don't, not believe, again, talking about Enzo being the fact that he's on 205 Live, that he's doing numbers for the show. I think Dave Meltzer or someone else had said that obviously, numbers had gone up when he first appeared on the show, and that was when he was super popular. Turning him heel, the best thing for his character, but he was still moving merchandise. He was still very much popular. So now that he's a heel, is he still doing the same numbers for the show? I don't think so. At least from what I understand and from what I've read and from what I've heard. 205 Live is still doing the same mediocre numbers they were 6 months ago, with or without Enzo. So, I'm sure it led to a bit of a boost at the beginning, but with Enzo, it's not like they're selling tickets, which they didn't talk about here because I would assume this was filmed. They showed clips of this after the Roman Reigns one a while ago, like a month and a half ago. So I'm sure they had filmed this after Survivor Series or, before Survivor Series, whatever. So at that point, there were really no talks or at least anything confirmed in regards to a 205 Live tour. So anyway, they didn't really talk about that, but just because Enzo Amore, I don't think that just because Enzo Amore is the champion, it's going to lead to big business with the live events, because so far, it hasn't. They had to cancel one of the shows for the upcoming, I think it was next weekend or whatever. So regardless, he says the Cruiserweight Championship is only the beginning for him. Any publicity is good publicity. Just ask Ric Flair. So he compares himself to Ric Flair. I don't know if I would go that far. But again, kind of summing up all the reports of the heat on him and being kicked outside the locker room off the tour bus and shit, that any publicity that he is getting is good publicity. People are talking, and again, it's hard to not deny that fact. Anyway, the next thing he talks about is not talking to Big Cass anymore. This was a popular topic online throughout the week after the episode aired, where he doesn't talk to Cass anymore. He wishes him the best, but he says that I persevere. I would have finished the match with Cass if I got hurt in that Brooklyn Street fight the day after SummerSlam a few months ago. And Cass calls him in his response on a little video that he filmed right before he went in for surgery back in August. He called him a little bitch. So Enzo said that when he comes back to the locker room, I will not say anything to him upon his return, which was interesting. So again, how far does this go? This was really where I started to question, like, is this real bad blood or is this just a character talking? Because obviously the two broke up in storyline. Is he going to come here on the show and say, oh yeah, we're best friends, you know? Like, after Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, he wasn't saying like, oh yeah, Dean Roman and I, we're really good friends, you know, like in the immediate aftermath of the split of the Shield. I don't imagine Enzo would be saying the same thing, but I don't, you know, I mean, it's hard to not believe that either. That seems fairly logical to me that they wouldn't talk anymore, because obviously they don't travel together anymore. I'm not sure if they don't live together anymore, or if they do live together anymore. I'm not exactly sure if that's the case. There's been no confirmation on that, but there's been recent reports that Big Cass has since split up from Carmella, because they were a real life item, so everyone kind of going their separate ways, which is interesting. But yeah, that was interesting that he kind of talked about Big Cass here and how they're no longer friends. How far does that go into reality? I'm not exactly sure. He did say that he got legitimately hurt in that segment with Rusev, where in storyline he was hitting on Lana and got brought back to the hotel room. And then Rusev beat the shit out of him in that hotel room, like throwing him against the wall and shit. He said he got legitimately hurt and he couldn't walk right for a long time. He still can't today. He's still got a limp today, which I'm not sure, again, if that's accurate. It seems like an accurate story. But he did say that he got legitimately hurt in that angle with Rusev, and he has not been able to walk right since, which is kind of weird. He recalls the concussion that he had during that match with, I think, the Vaudevillains about 2 years ago at Extreme Rules. So again, recalling the injuries that he just had, and you know, he recently suffered an eye injury or whatever it was. He had the flu, and he also showed up to the building, and I respect him for it, but why the fuck would you want to get everyone sick is my question. But anyway, Enzo obviously has balls, but he did call out Cass for not finishing that match the night after SummerSlam. So again, is there real life heat there? Is he just playing a character? That's my question. We couldn't really get a clear answer in this episode. So just to finish up here, he says, all I gotta do is show up and people go nuts. And he recalls Corey Graves calling him out on Twitter not too long ago when Corey Graves had tweeted something along the lines of, oh, like my kid just did the Enzo dance in second base while playing baseball. I have failed as a father. And Enzo replied saying, no, you failed as a wrestler, and now you're failing as a commentator. How you doing? So it seemed like, again, there's legit bad blood there, maybe not to the extent that WWE is playing it up. But I don't, you know, it's hard to not believe the fact that there is some underlying tension there between Enzo and Corey Graves in real life. I'm sure they're not the best of friends. I don't know if they're as big of rivals behind the scenes as WWE or as they're playing it up to be on social media, but I'm sure there's no love lost there between the two. And they discussed that bad blood and those shots fired a few months ago on social media. And then Enzo closes out the episode saying that he's a terrible commentator and he's a terrible wrestler, and he walks out on Corey Graves. He wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about Corey, just to make that clear. But yeah, obviously there was some tension here between the two, which made sense given their on-air history. Again, like I said, I'm sure they're not best friends behind the scenes. I'm sure they're not like closely associated or anything. I'm sure they're not like in a legit feud with each other in real life. I mean, that's only my guess, which is pretty safe to assume. But anyway, The rest of this episode, newsworthy for the cast talk and for the cruiserweight stuff and how he kind of comes across like a complete dickhead on this show. Again, how much of that is character and how much of that is his personality in real life. Like, you can kind of take from it what you will. Definitely take it with a grain of salt, this episode of Straight to the Source, but it is interesting, to say the least. A lot like that first Roman Reigns episode where he said, "Oh, I'm the best wrestler in the world," and a lot of people just fucking blew up about that. This kind of had a similar response online, maybe not quite to that extent, but I got a lot of people talking on social media in the days thereafter. So definitely check it out. The Straight to the Source episode with Enzo Amore airing on the WWE Network. I'm not sure what's going up on the network tomorrow night after Raw. Whatever it is, if anything, I will be talking about it right here on WWE Network and Chill next week. And speaking of which, tomorrow coming up here on the show on WWE Network and Chill, I will be reviewing the latest episode of Total Divas that aired this past week on the E! Network, so stay tuned for that tomorrow right here on the YouTube channel. Speaking of which, be sure to subscribe for more daily content. We got videos going up every single day of the week. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video. All that stuff is amazingly appreciated. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back right here tomorrow on WWE Network and Chill with another all-new episode talking about Total Divas. So until then, guys, have an awesome rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.